A senior administration official told our CBS's David Martin that in a meeting at the White House on Monday morning, the president demanded that 10,000 active duty troops be ordered into American streets. Is that accurate?
No, that's completely false. That's completely false. Sunday night...
The president did not demand that?
No, he did not demand that.
What happened?
I came over on Monday morning for a meeting. The night before had been the most violent day, as one of the police officials told us, the D.C. police. It was the most violent day in Washington in 30 years, something that the media has not done a very good job of covering. And there had been a riot right along Lafayette Park. I was called over and asked if I would coordinate federal civil agencies and that the Defense Department would provide whatever support I needed or we needed to protect federal property, at the White House, federal personnel. The decision was made to have at the ready and on hand in the vicinity some regular troops. But everyone agreed that the use of regular troops is a last resort and that as long as matters can be controlled with other resources, they should be. I felt, and the Secretary of Defense felt, we had adequate resources and wouldn't need to use federal troops. But in case we did, we wanted them nearby. There was never, the President never asked or suggested that we needed to deploy regular troops at that point. It's been done from time to time in our history. We try to avoid it, and I'm happy that we were able to avoid it on this occasion.
So there were active duty troops put on standby. They were not deployed. The 82nd Airborne was put on standby, but not sent into the streets.
Some 82nd Airborne Military Police were brought into the area, but they were not brought into D.C.
Right. So what part, I just want to make sure that we're precise here, what part of that conversation, as it's been relayed to CBS and to other news organizations, is false? Did the President not demand active duty troops?
Well, your question to me just a moment ago was, did he demand them on the streets? Did he demand them in D.C.? No, we had them on standby in case they were needed.
Right, which they were put on standby. They were not deployed.
Right.
So in our reporting, we were also told that you, the Defense Secretary Mark Esper, and General Milley all opposed the idea of actually deploying these active duty troops onto the streets. Is that accurate?
I think our position was common, which was that they should only be deployed if, as a last resort, and that we didn't think we would need them. I think everyone was on the same page.
Do you think that the President has the authority to unilaterally send in active duty troops if the governors oppose it?
Oh, absolutely. Under the Anti-Insurrection Act, the President can use regular troops to suppress rioting. The Confederacy in our country opposed the use of federal troops to restore order and suppress an insurrection. So the federal government sometimes doesn't listen to governors in circumstances.
The last time that this has happened was the LA riots in 1992 when the governor of California asked for active duty troops.
That's
You're
right.
saying your understanding and the law as you interpret it and would support is that the President has the ability to put active duty troops on American streets even if governors object?
It's happened numerous times, and the answer to that is yes.
You would support that?
Well, it depends on the circumstances. I was involved in the L.A. riots and the Rodney King matter. We tried to use non-military forces. I sent 2,000 federal law enforcement officers out there in one day, but it was overwhelming, and the National Guard couldn't handle it. And Governor Pete Wilson asked for federal troops.
And he asked for it, though?
Yes.
That's a key distinction.
Or he approved the use of federal troops, but those troops were on standby as well.
Because I think a number of people would be surprised to hear, and it's been reported that you opposed sending in active duty troops on principle. You're saying you would support it.
As a last resort.
What is the last resort?
to restore law and order in a situation that is out of control and where life and property is endangered. And that's been done since the earliest days of the Republic. General Washington, the president, led the army into the field to suppress rebellion in an insurrection in Pennsylvania in the very first term of his administration. So it's been done periodically. When I was AG last time, we did it twice. We did it in the Virgin Islands. The governor opposed us at that point, but there was a complete breakdown of law and order. Lives were in danger, and we sent in 82nd Airborne Military Police along with U.S. Marshals and FBI agents. And then subsequently, we did it in California. I would also point out it was done during the Civil Rights era in places like Selma, Alabama, and other places to integrate schools. The governors stood in the doorway. The governors did not approve the use of federal troops to enforce civil rights in the South.
So in this Monday meeting with the president, when the defense secretary, who has now publicly said that he opposed using the Insurrection Act, you said what to the president?
I don't think the Secretary of Defense said he opposed it. I think he said that it was a last resort and he didn't think it was necessary. I think we all agree that it's a last resort, but it's ultimately the president's decision. The reporting is completely false on this.